Hello, I'm currently looking into the camera logic for the game Enter the Gungeon. This 2D bullet hell style game uses a camera in order to make sure that all necessary mechanics and elements are displayed as the player goes through the map. One of the main things I notice is that the movement is locked onto the player. Anytime you use the WASD keys, the camera is always locked onto the player. This includes when the player is rolling as well. Now, one of the unique things that Enter the Gungeon has implemented is a crosshair follow system. So anytime the player aims in a certain direction, the camera finds a point in between the player and the crosshair, and it focuses on that point. It's almost about maybe 25% or so in between the player and the crosshair. And it makes sure that while keeping the player also in the camera angle. This is a very unique style of camera that allows the player to focus their fire on their enemy while making sure that they can still see their player and dodge and move at the same time. This is most likely done using a raycast system and finding a fixed point in between the crosshair and the player, and then making the camera focus on that area. Now, this type of camera provides a pretty unique style of play where it does provide the player the benefit of being able to aim at their target and focus on their crosshair, but it does provide an interesting mechanic where the player obtains a blind spot. You can see this bottom portion of the map here. If the player looks too far up, I can no longer see this portion. The player looks up here. If there's enemies firing behind me right now, I essentially have a blind spot. So that's a unique way to get the player immersed, because it's almost like tunnel vision for the player. As the camera focuses on the crosshair, while you're not firing in this direction, the player is unable to see what is coming from the bottom side of the map. So this unique way of creating this raycast, I believe a raycast style system, allows the camera to focus in a new light, and it provides blind spots that the player will need to keep in mind as they're moving around the map. As you can see, the fire coming from the right side of the map from this bullet shell, I was unable to see because he is beyond the camera angle. Very interesting. So it's something I also try to implement in my 2D games as well, because it really gives an immersion aspect to the player. Now again, all the rolling and other mechanics keep the player locked right in the center, regardless of where it could be up in the far corner. But as you can see, as the player moves away from that aiming position, it's still going to make sure that a certain percentage of them remains in the camera at all times. So you never fully lose track of the player themselves while aiming in any certain direction, but you could create unique blind spots behind the player. Overall, this is a very intuitive, great working camera system for a 2D platformer, or 2D top-down bullet hell style game, and I look forward to trying to implement it more in my games as well. Thanks for watching.